everybody. Welcome back to Gooner Gathering. I am Gooner Lee Meadows, and today we are doing our preview for the first game of the season, Arsenal against Wolves. And we have a new guest with us. Dom, how are you, sir? It's good to see you.
Yeah, very well. Thank you very much for having me on. Hopefully everything's working all right. But yeah.
It's about a 10-second delay, mate, but apart from that, it's all good.
It's because my laptop hasn't been used for a week.
That's all right. We'll just put a couple of pennies in the meter, and hopefully this will work out just fine. Of course, I am joined by my tag team partner, the controversial Posh Bertie. How are you, sir? You all right?
I'm doing good, thank you. Good to see Dom as well. First time we've been in the video together. I think you and Lee were on Josh's channel. But when the last season ended, so
that's right.
It's good to see you on our channel as a debutant, and yeah,
a new signing
as well, Mr. Meadows. Good to see
what's a new signing?
You as always, Mr. Meadows.
Yes, all good here, mate. All good. It's always fun and games to be with you, and I'm definitely not fuming with you after yesterday's stream at all. That's definitely not the case at all. Tell me about yesterday.
I was on Carl's stream, Gun Down, yesterday. I enjoyed myself anyway. It was a good old stream. Carl's a good bloke, contrary to popular belief, and he's got 900 Twitter followers. Get him to 1,000. So yeah.
More importantly, get us to 1,000 on YouTube, please. Thank you.
Oh yes, of course.
I can't get the staff here, Tom. I really can't, mate. It's ridiculous. But no, it was interesting to watch Posh Bertie unleashed and uncensored. He's under my watch now, so things are a bit different. Shall we say hello to a few people in the chat as well? Because of course,
yes,
Luke Chapman's in. Is telling everyone to buy the shirt, £74. So I'm sure that's gonna go down well on an Arsenal shirt. Oh, it's Team GB. It's the Team GB football jersey. I see. Excellent. Mahir Tapal is there with us as well. So, if people don't know you, Dom, do you want to introduce yourself to everyone on Gooner Gathering and where you might have been seen around?
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, I don't have a YouTube channel or out like that. So, I do a few guest bits, mostly on an NFL show about the Giants, who suck, but there you go. But you will have seen me on True Gooner with Josh and Co, possibly. But yeah, I've been an Arsenal fan since 1991, something like that.
We're maybe of the same lineage then. No,
yeah, I was about 6 or 7.
No, I wasn't.
Which is why I'm a bit ropey on quite which year it was, but around that time.
Good time under George Graham. Very good time.
Yeah. Football was a bit dull, but I still remember the first time at Highbury. No, first time at Highbury was Steve Agridovic got his nose broken by Ian Wright, which shows which is going back a bit.
Good times, and it improves Agridovic's looks no end.
I don't think anything can do that.
No, that might have been a little bit unfair. Do you know what? It's kind of fitting you started me off in that sort of generation, because I think probably for the final time I will just have a quick mention to Kevin Campbell. Of course, it was his funeral the other day. I was fortunate to see some of the footage, seeing some of the old players come together and play tribute to him. I saw Paul Davis there. I saw who else did I see? I saw Pat Rice. I think I've seen George Graham. I saw Andy Cole over there. That was nice to see him well enough to be there, because obviously he's had his illness concerns. And a final, best wishes to Kevin Campbell. He knew a lot of us on this YouTube platform. I know he was aware of us as well, and that made me very happy. I'm just sad I couldn't get him on the channel, but thoughts with his teammates from that time. It's been a tough summer for a lot of us. So just thoughts on that one, really. Any thoughts on Kevin while I have you, Dom?
I mean, I think you said it really lively there. He seemed a great bloke. He was a good player, really good player. And I think he'd be missed by those that were lucky enough to see him play, but also those that have sort of seen his generosity that he provided after he hung up his boots for us. And thoughts and prayers with his friends and family, definitely.
Thank you very much for that. Right. Well, the reason why we are here, we are on the eve. We're literally about less than an hour away now, I think, from the first game of the season kicking off. With Man United and Fulham about to play. We are one of the few sides that are not televised in the United Kingdom tomorrow, which is very, very annoying indeed. But we have the privilege of playing Wolverhampton Wanderers tomorrow. And the reason why we're here, I want to go through a bit of the team news. I want to go through your thoughts about what's going on in the transfer window. Obviously, Bertie has his opinions on that one. He made that ever so clear yesterday. And
we have things going on in the transfer window. Really?
We do, and maybe contrary to a few opinions, it doesn't close as of tomorrow. It doesn't. There is a bit of a way to go, and that is why, or one of the reasons why, I've tried to explain certainly to you and anyone that listens to what I say, for better for worse, I'm relatively calm about the whole thing. Now, that situation, and I've said on record, you brought it up the other day, Posh. If things don't move along in a couple of weeks' time, maybe I might have something else to say about that. But I'm aware that it does take a bit of time. It's contrary to belief of some of this. I don't think transfer business just happened bang like that. We mentioned Josh a little while ago. There he is. Good to see True Gooner in the chat. Give him a watch. He's an absolute top bloke. And give him a subscribe once we're done. Thank you very much. But there's a couple of things I want to talk about first up, and we'll go to Bertie. You had your, what's the word? Skepticism, I think, is probably the best word I can use, regarding Timber and his injury status. He obviously missed a couple of the pre-season games. He certainly missed the games at the Emirates. According to Arteta, he is in the squad. I'll quote him from the press conference. This is taken directly from Arsenal.com from today. Obviously, he's had a really tough period, but he's getting used to it in a great way. I think getting integrated into the squad's been important for him. Obviously, he had that little bit of a time had a bit of game time in the last game of the season, which was good to see. I don't want to use the old cliche like it's a new signing, but it is nice to have him amongst the squad and having that strength in depth to at least have a lot of the positions around the back line covered. I'll bring up that comment. I did see it. Thank you, lads. Looking forward to tomorrow. Let's get off to a good start. I think that's what we're looking for. So, Timber's good to go by the looks of it, Porsche. I presume that makes you very happy.
Yes, it's encouraging. Good to see Timber has, well, in Arteta's words anyway, made a recovery.
Yeah.
Although it'll be interesting to see who starts at left back tomorrow. Will Calafiori make his full debut? Are we genuinely going to be going with Zinchenko at left back, or who knows? I mean, I think Timber, if anything, will be on the bench. I don't expect him to start.
Yeah, I think.
I'd rather Calafiori started over Zinchenko, but I would understand why he'd start Zinchenko over Calafiori tomorrow because of the next game we have against Villa, and you don't want to have Zinchenko starting that. But yeah, we'll see what the lineup is like. Yeah.
Thank you very much for that, Posh. Don, where do you see Timber fitting into this season? Now, obviously, he's had the big ACL injury and stuff like that. I'm of the belief it's great to have him there, but I don't think he's going to be rushed back. I think he'll be used sparingly, certainly for the first few weeks of the season at the very least.
I think that's sensible to do that for two reasons. I think first reason it's sensible to do that is the fact that we've got a really tough first 5 games. So you need everyone fully up to speed. I think it's probably why I would expect Zinchenko to start actually tomorrow and then come off about the 60-65 for Calafiori, who I think should start in those tougher games, Tottenham, Man City. I think he should be sort of eased into those games. But I think Zinchenko's in the squad for the type of games like Wolves, where you'd expect to have lots of the ball and essentially plays in midfield, really, rather than the left back. I think for Timber, I think, like I say, he shouldn't start early doors. I think he should be eased back in. And I think when you look at players with ACL injuries, it's not uncommon to see them actually pick up a lot of little niggles, partly because they've been out for so long, partly because it's in the brain, right? It's a mental, can I trust my, my knee, my ankle, wherever it's gone, right? And I think that leads to further issues where they sort of overcompensate and put stresses on other parts of the body. So I expect to see this for the first 3 to 6 months with he's going to miss a game here and there, but I'm not concerned about him long term. I think we've eased him back in properly, and I think that's the right thing to do.
I think,
but his
he's
versatility is going to be a great asset. Sorry.
Yeah. No, it's all good, mate. The time difference as well, or the little delays is unavoidable. I think. No, I think with Timber, I think he's had an encouraging pre-season, and like I said, and generally, I think Arsenal's pre-season, in terms of on the field stuff, has had a lot of positive things to say. I know my tag team partner's going to have a few other things to say about maybe wish we had a few more toys to play with, but like I said, in terms of what we've actually seen on the pitch, I think it's generally been encouraging. What do you think to that, Posh?
So overall, pre-season has been fairly good, but as I keep saying, these friendlies are not, it's not what you're not going to judge our season on friendlies because they don't mean anything. But we saw encouraging signs, like against Leverkusen, against Lyon, not against Liverpool, but let's forget about that.
But against Man United, so
yeah, absolutely. Again, I can't judge us. I can't judge us based on our pre-season because it's whole different ball game pretty much. We've got our first competitive game tomorrow. Injury free, we have a good squad. We do have good players, obviously. I'm not denying that. We've got excellent players, and we can, as we've established, challenge for the title. We can do that again. We are capable of doing it. But I'm worried about the depth of our squad for I think the third season in a row. We've not made the signings to strengthen the depth. If we get injuries again, we'll have the same issue of squad depth all over again. And with the departure of Smith Rowe, if Nelson goes as well, and we haven't got a backup for Saka, then it just feels like, and I think I said this on Cole's stream, our squad seems to get thinner every season when we're trying to make the squad more vast every season. That's the thing with Man City is they have squad depth, and that's one of the many differences between us and them. We struggle in that position, in certain positions, especially Saka's position. If Saka gets injured, we don't have any proper wingers to fill in for him, especially if Nelson goes. So squad depth's the main issue.
Okay, I understand where you're coming from on that. I'm still deferring for where I want to be, but I'll bring up this point. I'll give you the Man City point of view just for a minute. Obviously, they are very lucky, Man City, in terms of having an absolute world-class number 9 striker, right? And we all know about Haaland. But they've just sold Alvarez over to Spain, right? And they're making a big deal about Oscar Bob might be the one who's going to come in and take over maybe that support striker role. Now it seems like he's broken his leg, and now he's a doubt for the start of the season. And now, all of a sudden, City, I think have only made one signing in themselves. And obviously, you're going to say to me, but they don't really need to strengthen because they won the title and stuff. I think they probably wanted to.
I think they signed again. Do you know what? Similar to us, they've signed one player, but they've got a bit. They should be signing players, but they've got players that I think are used to winning silverware and used to turning up when it really matters. Whilst I think I think even last season you could tell the loss of Gundogan and Mahrez took a bit of a hit to them, but they still managed to do it. And for whatever reason, they're still going to manage to do it again this season.
In your opinion?
In my opinion, yes.
See, I would slightly differ. I mean, I think the first thing I would say is that Manchester City, you can talk about their squad depth, right? I think they're actually weaker going into a season than they were last season. And Alex Ferguson, showing my age again, always used to talk about when you're the champions, that's when you need to strengthen. That's the time. I don't think they've done that. Now, the window is still open. I'm not hearing a lot about their movements at the moment, but I think the Oscar Bob injury might just change that. I think they will go in. I think we will also strengthen between now and the end of the window. And I think Marino will come in. I think that probably does strengthen our midfield options. Was he the central midfielder I wanted? No, he wasn't. But I also don't think he's a bad player either. And I think what it is I don't think the market was there this season for that top 6 or 8. I don't think they really were there, and that's why we've kind of done next season's business there. And we might see that this season. The one we wanted to do this season, next season, when Partey, potentially Jorginho moves on, that's kind of a replacement, I think, there. I think a forward must come in of some kind, right? I really do. And I think if a forward comes in, let's say Nketiah and Nelson depart, and I expect them to, and we brought in, I'm going to say Nico Williams. I don't think it will be him. I think he's going to stay. But something like that, I think that's more likely than the number 9. Suddenly, I would look at that side and think that's actually stronger than it was last season for us. Plus, I think this is a season where consistency actually is going to be key. And I think that understanding of how Arteta works will be one more year embedded in what is not no longer a young group, but is still a relatively young group that is sort of experienced. And I think we are going to be better for that than we were. So overall, I'm quite buoyant about the season, but I think we must see Marino. It's going to be him and a forward come in for me to really, really feel convinced in that view.
That's exactly the viewpoint I have. That's the very reason I remain as calm as I do on the shows that I do. And I know other people might come at me, and I know there may be a bit of a backlash on me. I can take it. I've got broad enough shoulders to take criticism on board. It's absolutely fine. But the proof will be in the pudding, and that will obviously start when we kick the first ball off tomorrow.
Yeah, we'll find out on September the 2nd as well, right?
Exactly.
Well, more crucially in May.
Well, yeah, that too. When the prizes are handed out, absolutely, that's what it's all about. At the end of the day, that is what football is about. Do you want to bring up that comment from Abdi? No striker.
Yeah, no striker, no league.
That sounds like a song, doesn't it? No woman, no cry.
Well, and I think
Lee's not doing karaoke anytime soon, is he?
He's been trying to get me. He's been trying to get me to do karaoke night on Twitch, and absolutely not. Anyway,
I need to get you hosting it. That's what I think I'll do. I'll get you hosting it, and you can do the admin for it whilst
I'll be the Simon Cowell of
you can be the MC. MC
anyway,
it's a no from me.
As I was saying, Abdi Mohammed says, "Yeah, we won't. I agree. We're not going to win. We're not going to win the league unless we do get a clinical striker. Because I've said, I sound like a broken record here, but Havertz and Jesus are not going to be. They're not 20 plus goal a season strikers, as I've said, and that's going to be the big difference between in what wins us a trophy and what doesn't. Our defense is solid.
Yeah, sorry, Bosh.
Our defense is solid, and we do have good attackers. However, it's this clinical striker that's going to be the difference, because, like I said, I mean, yeah, I've said a lot on many other streams, and Abdi says we need a difference maker up front and bring in Marino ASAP. Back up to Saka, we'll win trophies.
That's what I hope for.
The thing is, now you can say that we'll get a striker in the remaining weeks or so of the transfer window, or a backup for Saka. Look how long it's taking for us to sign Marino, and look how long it took for us to sign Calafiori. Do you really think Edu can get a deal done in the space of a few days? He can't. He's incapable of doing it. That's how I
They
feel.
haven't been in discussions. That's how
Well,
negotiations work, Podge. It doesn't
I
take
was
2 minutes.
Look at
Go
Man
ahead.
United.
but-
Look
Go
at
ahead,
West
Dom.
Ham.
Well, we
Go
don't
on.
know when they started, right? Negotiations, I think, are already ongoing. Secondly, I think we can do deals quickly. I think Trossard was done quickly. Urin Timber was done relatively quickly. I think when it comes to situations like Marino or like Calafiori, when I think we're the only team in it, I think that's when they take longer because we spend longer trying to get the more favourable terms. I think they could be quicker. I don't think there's a question about that. They can be quicker, but I think that's when he's looking for those terms slightly more. But I do think a forward will come in. I don't think it'll be a number 9. I'm not sure who that number 9 is that gets you that's on the market 20-25 goals this season. I don't know who that is this year. I think there are question marks about all of those options. And I agree, I'm not sure Havertz or Jesus can get you 20 goals. However, we are capable of scoring goals from around the team. And I think Moreno, if he came in, I think we'll see an uptick in the number of goals we get from midfield. Because that's the area where we really lacked goals last season compared to other teams. But, I mean, if you can find that number 9, then I think absolutely that wins you the league. And I don't think it's a question mark. I just don't know who he is this year. I genuinely don't. I think there's question marks about Osimhen, Gorkarez, Jimenez, and Isaac simply doesn't look like he wants to leave Newcastle.
No, I mean, some might argue we might already have that number 9.
And
it's not the one you think. It's
I
not
was
the one you
smiling. I was smiling because when you said
Not Eddie, surely.
we don't know who this number 9 is, and I knew this man here is gonna. He wants to mention Eddie Nketiah just to annoy me.
No, I wasn't. Oh,
I did just I did just for fun, but that was a joke.
You know my gimmick. You're a good lad. What I was going to say, maybe it's in our youth team because it's Arsenal 1, United 0 in the under 21s, and it's Kane Edwards who scored it. Edwards I've seen play last season, about this time last season. Maybe he's the striker to do it. Who knows? I mean, Boss, you want to see youngsters be promoted to the side? Maybe we already have that number 9. Edwards has already captained the reserve sides.
I've not seen much of him, so I can't really comment on that. But good to see our academy.
Got him.
Good to see our academy players off the mark. And I tell you, you mentioned bringing young players in. Let's talk about Wanyeri. Do you think he's going to get any minutes against Wolves? Do you think he'll come off the bench or something? I don't know. What? I mean, Dom, what did you make of Wanyeri in pre-season? And do you think we'll see him in the first team?
He looks an impressive talent, right? I think he's going to be introduced, and look, this is a well-trodden path in terms of people talking about this, but I think it will be the Phil Foden route where he was eased in gently at City by Pep Guardiola. I think Arteta will do the same. I think it'll probably be mostly substitute appearances this season, and I think they'll mostly be game state substitutions, as in we're winning 2-3. That's when he'll come on. I think that's what will happen to him. Will he come against Wolves if we're 2-3-0 up and cruising? Then yes. If not, then I suspect probably not. But I think he will come in and get most of his minutes to give Odegaard a rest in those final 15 minutes or so. That's where the minutes will come. But what a talent he looks, really, genuinely. I can't see, and I know it's a joke, Caden Edwards coming in. I think if we don't sign a striker, then the only hope is that Havertz does what he did in the second half of the season for the whole season. That's over 20 goals if he does, but I think that's a big if.
Maybe it is a big if, but if he keeps on the form that he did show in this calendar year, I don't think there's any reason why he can't. People sometimes talk about him playing false 9. I'm not even sure I like the idea of the false 9 because I think he's built like a proper number 9. Actually, people might argue with me again, and that's absolutely fine. To answer Posh's question, Nweri, I'll bring up 2 other names that Arteta specifically brought up in the press conference today. Miles Lewis-Skelly had plenty of minutes during pre-season. Aidan Haven had been getting minutes in the pre-season as well, saying that they are certainly going to be amongst the training group in the first team. I think they are the 3 of the young players that had been on the US tour that have been continuing to train with the first team squad. And yeah, I genuinely do think it's time that they had so many minutes over the pre-season. I don't see them really being any reason, especially in these new rules, right, where you have so many substitute options that you can use. Don't see any reason why they cannot be named amongst that squad. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see the development they make, and I'm genuinely excited, particularly for the first two names I mentioned, because I've seen them more than Haven. I've seen Nawari and I've seen Lewis Skelly quite a bit, and yes, I'm very excited to see how they go. One player that we may or may not see so much of is Fabio Vieira, who we'll go back to the team news. We've already been talking 25 minutes. He's a minor hip injury and he's got a fitness check. Two other injuries I do want to bring up, and then you can talk about how you want to talk about this. Breaking news right now. Arsenal talent Charles Sanogo Jr. has just signed a new long-term contract for Arsenal. He's another striker that we could potentially be using over the season, although I feel he might need a loan spell out so he can get first team minutes before he comes in amongst the Arsenal fold. But that's good news. That's from Fabrizio Romano. That's a done sealed contract. I won't ask you to react for that because obviously he's only played a couple of substitute appearances at best, probably for Arsenal first team. But two other bits of injury news that we've got to talk about very briefly. Takahiro Tomiyasu and Kieran Tierney. Yeah, I'm going to talk about Kieran Tierney. Out for a few weeks, according to Arteta, with knee and hamstring injuries, respectively. So interesting that Arteta brought certainly Tierney up in the conversation, saying that he's obviously had injury setbacks and needs a lot of support. Be interesting to see where Tierney ends up at the end of this transfer window, lads. I know, Bertie, you'll have an opinion on this one, so go ahead.
I can't see him staying at Arsenal when he comes back from injury. I think for whatever reason, Arteta wants him gone. Even though I've said it before, he's a very good left back, probably our best left back, arguably. But yeah, in fact, I think he's the only out and out left back we have in the squad. So it'll be. I mean, it's so obvious now based on the lack of game time he's had recently. I mean,
he has been injured, Bosch.
He has been injured, yes, of course, I was going to say. But it's obvious that Arteta he's not in his plans, which is a big mistake. But I think he's going to go, and if he goes to another Premier League club, we're going to easily see that we're going to regret it because we'll be seeing it week in, week out.
Well, I'm not sure we will, because I don't think he's going to stay fit enough. Sadly, look, I love Kieran Tierney. I think he's a great, well, not a great player, but he's a very good player, right? And if he stays fit, I think we wouldn't have had the turnover at left back potentially that we have had. I know that he struggled to invert, but I think he was good enough to learn it, just given a bit of time. I think the reason we've moved on from him in Arteta's view is the injury. I think that's the big reason. I think the player I think we're going to regret letting go is Emile Smith-Rowe, who's not been injured for over a year. I think that's the one I would say I don't quite understand that one. I get why it's him and not Vieira because that's where the market was, but Smith-Rowe is way better than Fabio Vieira. But I think it's such a shame for Kieran Tierney. Love Kieran Tierney. I wanted him to be Arsenal captain instead of Odegaard. I mean, I can't complain about Odegaard, but that's how much I like Kieran Tierney, right? But I think I'm not sure he is going to go this summer because I'm not sure where the market is unless a club does a very favourable loan deal where we pay the bulk of his wages if he's injured. I think that's the only way, and that might be Celtic. I don't know.
That sounds makes a lot of sense to me, to be honest. It's a club that he knows very well. I want to say I wish Kieran all the best, whatever he does, because I much like you, Dom, I wanted him to be the captain. There's no secret on that one. But we'll see. And you know what? I actually highly agree with what you just said about Smith-Rowe in terms of how do I rate him ahead of Fabio Vieira. Yeah, of course, because I think Smith-Rowe's had a lot more game time. We unfortunately we haven't seen enough of that. It'd be really interesting to see how
in half an hour.
Be really interesting.
People say it's only Luton, but look at that performance against Luton. And yeah, it's only Luton. Yeah. But Luton were playing decent at that time and we're starting to survive in the league. And he tore them apart. And I'd love to have seen him in that number 8 role far more. But I wish him the best at Fulham.
Yeah, absolutely.
Except against us.
Yeah. That's where we're going to think, oh dear. And this man to my right will be absolutely intolerable that day. I can tell you that much.
You know what? I really hope. I hope he does well, and I hope he gets the regular game time that he needs. He's starting tonight. I hope he can set Old Trafford alight.
Literally
in about
with
half an hour.
gasoline and a match.
Yeah, and that's
it
their
won't
new
take much.
stadium.
It's falling apart already.
And that's their new stadium plan sorted. Yeah, in 29 minutes time.
Absolutely. And we will aim to get this stream done before kickoff, ladies and gentlemen. So that'll be the plan anyway. I think it's probably about time we sort of talk about our opponents for tomorrow. I think that makes a bit of sense. Let's talk about Wolves. Gary O'Neill apparently is in talks for a new contract over at Wolves. Remember, he took charge 5 days before the season started after a bit of a shocking managerial change before the game at Old Trafford. They started relatively well, but perhaps in European contention. Their form did fall away the last 10 games. They only won 1 of their last 10. Let's talk about their transfer window a bit because, you may be frustrated that we've not really had too many come in our way. I think there's 2 really big losses for Wolves. We'll talk about them if you like. The centre half, Max Kilman, joined West Ham for £40 million. And Pedro Neto, I'm sure you both probably got something to say about because I haven't heard enough of that about him for a little while. Went for Chelsea for £54 million. What do you make of the departures on the Wolves side there?
Can I just say, you do know if Pedro Neto does well at Chelsea, he's going to be we could have signed Kudus of 24-25 season.
It's all right. We won't see him. He'd be one of about 500 people in the North Stand. You won't even see.
Only been injured twice his whole Wolves career, but okay. Anyway, Dom, you can answer that question that Lee just said.
I mean, I think both will be losses for Wolves. Unquestionably, I think Wolves were impressive under Gary O'Neill last season. I think they fall back a bit this year, to be honest. And I think it looks always difficult game 1 of a season because no one's really in rhythm. You've got nothing to go off. But I think we should be beating them quite comfortably on Saturday. And like I say, those losses will be big for Wolves. In terms of Pedro Neto, I mean, he's had a plethora of injuries at Wolves. He's in the last 5 years, I think it's 58.6% of games is all he's been fit for. And that's why I would have passed on him given we've got Tierney, Partey, etc., and how much do we bemoan them not being available? Tierney less so recently because he's been at Sociedad, obviously, but etc. I mean, he could be if he stays fit. It's again that big if, isn't it? And if their manager can find him in that squad of 469 players that they've got, Neto,
nice choice of number.
I was going to go 115, but yeah, exactly. I'll save that for later. But I expect us to beat Wolves on Saturday, but I think they're going to come, they're going to low block, they're going to look to hit on the counter. I don't expect them to necessarily play like that all season, but that's how I would play if I was Gary O'Neill on Saturday, and they'll have had a lot of time to practice and train for that. We need to break them down early. We get an early goal, we could send them for 4-5, but I think they will be nicely organised, nicely compact. I think we're going to have to be patient.
Yeah, I'll go with that. Arsenal will be looking for their 3rd straight win on the opening day. Let's remember the stats about Arsenal won 16 of their 18 games at home last season, and Wolves only won 1 of their last 13 at Arsenal. Bertie,
so it's a Wolves win then.
Yeah.
Yeah, 1-0 Wolves. 88 minutes.
That's it. The season's done. Yeah. Throwing things at the camera and everything. If ever there'll be a chance for you to do a pipe bomb, that'll be one, mate. But in all seriousness, yeah. So they have a few players come in. Maybe some not super familiar to me, but I'm going to attempt. Jorgen Strand Larsen on loan from Celta Vigo. Scored 13 goals in La Liga, so that's not to be sniffed at. Tommy Doyle, I'm familiar with. He is a youngster at Manchester City. He's joined them. Ricardo Gomez, I believe he's had a pretty decent pre-season for them. And there's a right back called Pedro Lima. I'll talk about their. They have team news as well. Nelson Semedo is an important player for Wolves. He is suspended. He got sent off in the last game of the season against Liverpool. Kuna got a hamstring injury in the United States, but he may be okay. Lamina and Larson got injuries on Saturday against Real Vallecano when they lost 1-0, but they are expected to be okay. And Daniel Prudence, you might remember that name, he was on loan at Olympiacos last season, is struggling with a knee injury, so he's unlikely to make an appearance. So do we want to put our necks out and say, what do we think of Arsenal's chances? What do you think of a result?
2-0 Arsenal.
2-0?
I was going for the same thing. Great minds think alike. 2-0.
That can't be right. One of them's mine.
All right, I'll be different. 3-1. 3-1. 3-1 Arsenal.
I'm gonna go.
No, I meant the great minds. That can't be right because one of them was mine, not your score prediction.
I will. Oh, goodness me, my screen's gone funny. Right, that's fine. I will go a little bit different. I'll say 3-0 to Arsenal. That's what I'm hopefully going for. Hopefully everyone can see me because my screen's gone all funny. AFC always, see your comment in there. Hope you're having a lovely time in Portugal. It's a lovely country. I've been up there myself. It's beautiful over there. See more Arsenal fans over there than Man City, Man United, Liverpool, and Chelsea. So the Arsenal fans are taking over there. What part of Portugal are you in, mate? It's the lovely.
Is one of them Cedric? Say hi to Cedric.
4-1 to Arsenal says oh wow. 4-1 says AFC always, and I can give you a score update from the under-21 game. It's now 3-0 to Arsenal.
Woo.
They are cooking, I think the kids say. Yeah, I'm down. so yeah, maybe there's some options in the youth team, guys. What do you think? Who knows? I see you who know more about that than I will, and it's Emerson Crozier, who I believe will send me a video about that game tomorrow, if he can do. So if he's feeling good and well, hopefully that video will come up on the channel tomorrow. So anything else you guys want to cover regarding Wolverhampton Wanderers for tomorrow?
No, I don't have anything to say regarding Wolves, but I wanted to do. So when I was on Carl's channel yesterday, I'm gonna steal this from him. I don't care. He's
probably not watching anyway off me.
He quizzed me on who's getting relegated, who's winning the league, and who my top 4 predictions were, and who the surprise package would be this season. And I'm going to do the same to both of you. Lee, I told this to you in advance. Dom, I
gave Dom a heads up on Twitter. It's all right.
Thank you very much. So, Dom, you're the guest, so I'll go with you first. Who do you think is getting relegated this season?
Well, we've got Man City, haven't we? When they get thrown out of the league.
Damn, you took my gimmick. You took what I was going to say.
Sorry, Lee. I didn't know. I mean, we can but hope, right? But assuming they appeal, etc. I think it's Ipswich. Unfortunately, love them to stay out, but I don't think they will. I should have given this some thought. I told Lee, he gave me the heads up. I said, "No, you shouldn't have bothered. I'll give it no thought." So I think they'll go down. I think Leicester will get a points deduction for financial breaches, and I think if that's anything north of 6 points, I think they're in trouble. So I'm going to go them, and I think Forest. I actually think Southampton will go down, but I just don't want to see the 3 that came up go down again. I think that's bad for the league. So I'm going to go with Forest as my third.
Yeah, I went for Leicester, Forest, and Southampton. I put my Premier League predictions up on Twitter, but yeah, Leicester, Forest, and Southampton I went for. And on the Man City point, there's going to be so many disappointed faces come January when they get away with it lightly. Mr. Meadows,
and even if they don't, they'll appeal for years, right?
That's what I was going to say with the Man City thing. Obviously, there's so many legal people involved in all of that, and I don't think we as fans know completely everything that's going on behind the scenes on that one. So, although Dom did steal my gimmick, and I appreciate him for doing that, I will go for the same one of the reasons that you just said about Leicester City, obviously in breach of some of the rules. I do think they're going to finish bottom. I think Southampton are going to finish second bottom, and sadly, breaking a bit of tradition and their long stay in the Premier League, I think Everton might be in awful trouble.
I thought Everton for the last couple of years, but I think Sean Dyche will do enough. But I had Everton to go down last year. They did incredibly well. I don't think they'll quite as well this year as they did last year, but I think they'll have enough. But I can understand why you'd put them there.
Yeah. I'm going to stick by it, and I'm a traditionalist, and I've got a lot of time watching Everton, and for lots of reasons, I don't want to see it happen. It's what I think might happen. So we'll see.
Yes.
Back to you, Bertie.
So this might I think I might rustle some feathers for this prediction. Who do you think's winning the league? Dom, I'll go with you first.
Well, I said 3 years ago that Arsenal will win the league in 24-25, so I need to stick with that.
There we go.
Well,
Mr. Meadows.
Look at me. I'm the face of positivity on this channel. So, of course, I'm going to say Arsenal are going to win the league. It's the start of the season, for goodness sake. I'm optimistic. I am looking forward to the season. I'm looking forward to collecting the trophies. Like Kenny Omega, we are going to be the cleaners. We are going to clean up the season.
For me, as I said before, the lack of a clinical striker and the squad depth will cost us, and it'll be 5 in a row for Man City. Unfortunately, that's my prediction, and it may not be a spoiler, but it is a prediction. Anyway, let's broaden that a bit. Top 4. Dom, you said Arsenal first. Who's going to be second, third, or fourth? You can do it in a particular order, or
I'll do it. I'll do it in order for you. City will come second. I think by way Arsenal and City are the top 2. I don't see anyone getting near them this season. I still think Liverpool will finish third. It's obviously difficult to say what they're going to do, and they've made a shambles of getting a number 6 again, but with their new manager as well. But I think they'll come third, and then hopefully, because I'm going to jinx it, I actually think Spurs might come fourth. I think United are starting to build, and they're starting to do it properly, but I think they're still a way off. Chelsea are just a mess. I think Villa will find the Champions League too hard to sort of get everything together, and they've had a lot of turnover in that, their best 11 this year. Now that might work in their favour, but I don't think so. So they're my top 4. I think Spurs will finish fourth. God, I hope that's wrong, but I think they will.
Okay.
I hope not.
I'll do my predictions, and I'll give you my prediction, and I'll give you a score update, and I'm rubbing my hands. So, I'll go for City for second. I'm going to go Man United for third. And then I'm going to go Liverpool fourth, I think. Yes, that's what I'm going to go with.
And your score update?
It is Arsenal 4-0 up against Manchester United.
It's not even half time, is it?
It's not even half time. My man Edwards has scored again. And no,
I
haven't seen the who scored the second and third, but I just got the little.
I think there might be something in that, kid. I think the fans will be chanting £0 down the drain. Edwards has scored again.
He's invented it. I love it.
Bertie, who did you have in your top 4?
I said City first, Arsenal second, Man United third, if the squad can blend and get their act together. And it's going to be another good evening for Aston Villa. I think they'll get fourth again. People say that, it's the Champions League, they'll find the fixture congestion difficult. Didn't stop them in the Conference League, though. So,
I think it's a very different competition.
I know. But I think never underestimate Mr. Unai Emery and the Aston Villa team. We learned that the hard way last season. So I've gone for Villa to be fourth again.
I think Emery's a really good manager, by the way. I really do. But I worry about what happens to them if Watkins gets injured. I mean, I don't worry about it because, fingers
It'll
crossed.
make you laugh.
But
Yeah.
um,
Of course, we don't want injuries. Of course, I'm joking.
no,
right?
but you know what I mean.
Yeah. Look, to respond to the Aston Villa thing, I look at how difficult it was. Beautiful. It's a lovely place in Old Goal. Very nice AFC always. See what happened to Newcastle when they were in the Champions League last season. That was, of course, let's not forget Champions League format has changed a little bit. I don't need to go into that in this stream tonight because I don't want to get off air in a bit. But Newcastle found it exceedingly difficult and to compete back into the Premier League. And I do feel that Aston Villa might be my ones that I might be slightly disappointed with. And that's no slight on Unai Emery at all. No slight on him at all. I just think that the strain on their squad depth is going to be too much. Not knocking what he done at from the last season because they did fantastic. And look, I covered the game that eventually killed us. I did that solo watch along myself, the Arsenal versus Aston Villa game, and they thoroughly deserved it. And they've got some very talented players in that squad, but I just think it's going to be slightly too much. It's just my opinion.
I agree. I think they are stronger than Newcastle were when they got in the Champions League. I think that's the only thing, and I think they got a better manager. That's not to knock Howe. I think that's a praise Emery. But I agree. I think it's going to be a stretch too far.
And very quickly, last question: who do you think will be the surprise package in the Premier League? I think we're going to go for the side that may overachieve in their expectations. I'm going to go first because I make the rules here, apparently, on this section. I've gone for West Ham, and I'm purely judging that on some of the impressive signings that they made. I think they're in contention for Conference League or above. I reckon 7th, maybe even 6th if they're lucky, with some of their signings. Are they gelled together? Yeah, 7th, around that time, West Ham. Dom, who do you think will be the overachievers?
So I think you're right with West Ham. I mean, a surprise package has turned up at Yves Bissouma's house, and it's a Class C. Oh no, he's been.
Our legal team will be on that one.
That was a joke, by the way, just in case anyone is
Don't
on
do
it.
the substances, kids.
No, and definitely don't do that in all seriousness. But I just wanted to have a knock at Yves Bissouma and Spurs. But yeah, I think West Ham are the obvious ones, right? I think not obvious, but I think that's the right answer to the question. I'm going to go with something different though, as Bertie kindly changed his prediction after my 2-0 one. I'm going to go with Brentford. I think people are writing them off this year. I don't think they're going to pull up trees, but I can see them finishing comfortably mid-table. I mean, Brighton, I think, are a good side, but I wouldn't be shocked if Brentford finished above them this year. So I'm going to go with Brentford finishing somewhere about 10th, as opposed to sort of relegation candidates, which I think a lot of people have them as.
My answer, I'm going to say, my surprise team is going to be Crystal Palace. Got a side that I have a lot of respect for. A little bit of breaking news on them today in the last 10 minutes or so. Fabrizio has just said that the buyout clause for Eze's contract has expired today. No one's gone in for him. If they could keep hold of Eze, I don't know if they're going to be able to keep hold of Mark Gay at all. I think Newcastle are potentially in for him. But even the Palace fans that I know back at the day job are very confident with the other players that they have in their defensive department that they could cover Mark Gay. If they can keep on with the consistency that they did, certainly since the end of February, I think it is, when the new manager took over, I think there'll be one to look out for. Very, very talented squad over there, and quite a lot of them, that squad are English talent as well, which is good to see. So, especially interested to see how Adam Wheaton gets on after his big call up into the Euros. Obviously, didn't get any time on the pitch, but he had an exceptional second half of the season. Be great to see him and see how he gets on.
Really nice.
Yeah, I think they're a really nice side. They've, as you say, Gay, as a Wharton. I forget the Frenchman striker who was at the Olympics. Sam Johnson's not a horrific keeper
Mateta.
by any stretch. Yes,
Yeah.
that's it. Yeah, thank you. I think they're a nice
Mitchell at
side.
left back. Good play.
Yeah, nice and solid. I think they're a decent side, and I think they've got a good manager. Yeah, I think they're good shouts.
Oh,
how did that happen?
well, okay. On
Think
that note,
StreamYard's telling me to go, mate, I think.
yes, he wants us to watch the footy.
I think it
Right.
does. Well, look, I'll just say to the pair of you, thank you very much for jumping on the preview stream this evening. This has been fun. Nice new dynamic on it. I'm glad I wasn't one-on-one with this boy, because I might have it would have been a one-on-one.
Not in person, it's fine.
No, it's all good. It's all good. But I've enjoyed this. Thank you, everybody who's been in the chat. It's been busy again. Thank you, anyone who's watching us on demand as well. Our subscriber numbers are going up through the roof now. We're on 331 last time I looked. So that's nice to see. And if you've got this far, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel, and keep your eyes open on the social medias for when our next video will come out. So, Dom, let's throw it to you. Would you like to plug anything? Where can people find you on social media if you want them to follow you, etc.?
The reality is, I don't have any. But I'm on Twitter, where I occasionally like to just cause trouble by saying a comment which will let things go off. Mostly in reply to others. Lee posted it earlier on Gooner Gathering. You can find it there, but I don't know what you're talking about. But yeah, no. And I also want to say thank you for having me on. And Bertie, nice to meet you as well. Well, not in person, but you know
Good
what I
to meet
mean.
you.
Virtually in person.
Yeah.
It's been a lot of fun. So cheers, guys.
Yeah, no, thank you. It's been a great debut. Solid performance from the debutant. Bertie,
hopefully we'll see it from Calafiori on Saturday. Sorry.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what we're looking for. Go ahead, Bertie. Where can they find you? Causing trouble.
Let's put the banner up here. You can find me on Twitter or X at Posh Bertie. My Instagram's at Bertie Wonderless, and I run Gooner Gathering's Instagram account, which is at Gooner Gathering.
I thought you were going to do the line there.
Oh, sorry about that. Gooner Gathering. We watch Arsenal, so you don't have to.
Thank you very much indeed. Of course, you can find me at Gooner Lee Meads. You can find everybody at Gooner Gathering. Unfortunately, the game is not live tomorrow, so it'll be a day off certainly for me on the channel tomorrow. But keep your eye open. There may be a couple of videos coming out potentially, including I have a contact who will be in the ground tomorrow. So we'll see how that goes. Thank you again for watching us. Enjoy the football. Come on, Arsenal. New season, new start. Here we go. See you later, everybody.